What is up, YouTube? Welcome back. Aeneas here. If you missed it, we just finished the top 5 new brews for Dominaria United and also the honorable mentions. So this video I want to go through some of the changes I foresee in Historic coming up with the new set. And of course we got to start off with some control lists because that's my jam. So in Historic, there was already kind of a DMU control list that was pretty good, but I would say it was probably about tier 2, not tier 1 or tier 1.5. Still fun, but not the best. So with the new set, we got quite a few new cards coming in that look pretty promising. So the first one is Urtai Resurrected. Just having another flash creature that has a very good effect. It seems pretty solid, a nice body that would block most of the creatures currently active in Historic. Something to go along with your torrential Gearhulks that are usually played in the deck. Makes a lot of sense. And also Narset, Parter of Veils, is still a legal card in Historic, which stops the opponent from drawing more than one card. So it kind of negates the effect of Urtai, making him even better. So it's something people have been mentioning a little bit, but yeah, Narset was already the biggest part in the Dimir deck, so having Urtai in there just makes a lot of sense, and will make that deck much stronger, I think. You might even want more copies of Urtai, and maybe 4 copies of Narset as well. Not sure, we'll have to play around with the number, but the 2 seemed about right when I was building the deck. Other things that are upgrades for the deck, we got Cut Down. Besides Fatal Push, this deck didn't really have anything else, so you kind of had to just draw and hope you got your sweeper and stuff like that. So having the 2 Cut Down in there should help make the matchups a little bit better, and make it definitely much better against aggro, which will be nice. And then I've included one of the Ronda's Vortexes because against control, sometimes you had trouble getting rid of the Teferi 5. So having a way to stick it at the bottom of their deck is a pretty solid play, and with opponents' Narsets as well, it could be good, or opponents' sticky creatures like Aeneas or something like that. So definitely seems like a good card. You can bring it back with the Gearhulk and then pay the kicker, and that's pretty good as well. So yeah, definitely solid. Looking forward to trying that one out. And the other upgrade to the deck is Urtai Scorn. So before we were running the I can't remember the name of it, but it was a counterspell, 3 mana, and it surveils 1. So that card is pretty good, but this one has a chance to be 2 mana in a decent number of matchups. So it seems like a pretty solid counterspell to be included in Historic. A lot of the combo decks, they'll play like a Faithless Looting and then play something like Faithless Looting into Greasefang so you can't stop it, something like that. So now when they play the Greasefang, you get the 2 mana counterspell, and it's just much more odds of you being able to stop them, something like that. So definitely cool. Want to try it out, see how it works out. But yeah, looks interesting. And the final upgrade to the deck is the Silex. So in Dimir, you had things like Languish, you had his Expertise, Shadow's Verdict, stuff like that as your sweepers. So nothing like super great, but the Silex will help your matchups against things like Jund Food, or it's a lot of things. I mean, it comes down on 3, and then you can exile almost everything the turn after that. So seems pretty solid. Very unconditional removal. Great against any permanent and almost any creature. So yeah, looks solid. Can't wait to try it out. Might even be worth being more than one of in the deck. Who knows? But yeah, looks pretty cool. So that's kind of the upgrades for the deck. Of course, you have the Commit to Memory Narset combo, and you have the Gearhulk with all your instants and stuff like that. So just a solid upgrades to the Dimir deck. Looks sweet. All right, so the other ones in Historic that are getting upgrades, Historic Elves didn't get a whole lot, but it did get something pretty crucial. So you've got another 2 mana Lord that pumps all your other elves, which is really good, and this one also draws you cards. So what more could you want in your Elves deck? Yeah, so if you've got your Growing Rites of Illimak or whatever, and you play a creature when this is on the battlefield, you know, you could potentially just like load the entire board because you know, you're just going to be drawing each time you play one. So pretty sweet. Seems solid. Just a quick upgrade for Elves. So yeah, sweet. Other than that, if you watch my other videos about the historic Grixis deck, this is that list, but a few upgrades in there as well. Got rid of Unholy Heat and put in Cut Down. Basically, Unholy Heat was pretty solid for the aggro decks, but doesn't hit everything you need. A little bit tricky to activate, so I think Cut Down is just a strict upgrade for that. The only matchup it's a little bit worse in is Control, but I think it's fine to switch it out for the Cut Down. I mean, it's just going to be more solid in all the other matchups. So your matchups you were already favored in, you're going to be just completely destroying now with Cut Down in there. And then the other quick changes, I switched out the Chandra 4 for Liliana of the Veil. Not sure it's the correct decision, but it comes down on 3, which is big. A lot of times, you know, you'll kill off like a bunch of the little small creatures with like Fatal Push, and then they drop a 3-drop, and you're like, I can't kill that 3-drop right away. So if you have Lily, you can just go in and you edict it. Not a big deal. It's dead. So I think that's kind of where it's going to shine. Also, again, in the control matchup, if you get Lily down on 3 before they can stop you with like counter spells, then you can just be making them discard their hand all the time, which seems pretty solid. Yeah, so we'll try it out, see how it works. Interesting to try at least. And then the last addition to the deck is the Haughty Djinn. So before I was trying Turgid, which was working well, and it had a big body, and you have the artifact side against control. So pretty solid card overall, but I like the idea of having a 3 mana creature that also is hard to kill with the 4 toughness, and it's flying. And potentially you could outrace your opponent. I mean, if you've been killing all their stuff and you get this down, and they can't remove it right away, then you know, you could be swinging in with like a, I don't know, a 5 damage creature or something pretty early on because you've been casting all your instants and sorceries and stuff. So seems nice. You can also bring it back with Kolaghan Command pretty easily. It's cheap to play. It's going to make your all your spells cheaper, like your Compulsive Research, your Dark Intimations, your Sweltering Suns, and it doesn't die to Sweltering Suns, which is the other important thing. So definitely seems cool. Want to try it out. Looks like an interesting upgrade. The only other card from the set that I was pretty interested in trying was the Sheoldred. So that's a 4/5 for 4 mana, which is a really good rate. It has Death Touch and it gains you some life and drains the opponent. So maybe if Haughty Djinn is not working out, then that would be the replacement with this Sheoldred there. But anyway, really cool. Yeah, not a whole lot of changes, but the little changes will impact it a lot. I think make it even more solid. Alright, the other historic deck that gets improvements is the historic Merfolk. So this was always like maybe a tier 2 deck, maybe tier 1.5. Still a really strong deck. They get a good start. You can't stop them. But now they've got this flash creature that pumps all their Merfolks, and it has ability to kind of counterspell sweepers. So yeah, I think that could make it tier 1, to be honest, because being able to flash in your Lord and countering sweepers could be enough to just make it tier 1. So looking forward to seeing how that works. I mean, I'm not looking forward to playing against it, but yeah, very interesting to see how the changes affect it. And then this one, historic red-black Liliana deck. So this one plays off of Liliana of the Veil being legal and Raven Man. So it's kind of like the Young Pyromancer style deck, but instead you're focusing on kind of a madness theme. We have quite a few madness cards in historic right now, like Terminal Agony and Fiery Temper and the Blazing Root Walla and stuff like that. Even this Asylum Visitor and the Necrogoyf. So lots of really good madness things. Basically, you plus with your Lily, you discard them, and then you get to play them for their madness cost. So essentially you didn't lose your card at all when you plussed, and the opponent does lose their card. So that really kind of exploits the Lily. That's why we have the 4 of in there. And also have Croxa and Oxyvagonus, which are solid escape cards. So again, you plus, you're not really worried about discarding them because, yeah, they're going to come back. So you basically want them in the graveyard anyway. Same for Seasoned Pyromancer, yeah, I have some sideboards that also play off it as well, that want you to kind of have an empty hand because you'll discard your hand anyway when you play this to draw 2 cards. So, yeah, really solid. Looks really good. Tiny Bones also works with Liliana. So, you know, you play Tiny Bones, you play Liliana, and you draw a card back. So even though you discard one, you get it back, get a new one back. So yeah, lots of cool combos there in Historic with Liliana. And then the Raven Man works well with Liliana, works well with Croxa, with Thoughtseize, with Faithless Looting. So works really well with a lot of these cards, synergies, stuff like that. Looks really interesting. Yeah, definitely something to look out for. A new take on Rakdos in Historic with this card. Best of 3 will probably be a lot trickier because people bring in Graveyard Hate, but you still have a lot of the discard effects, so it's not like every discard hate's going to be able to stop these things. Yeah, so it could still be good in best of 3. Definitely going to be solid in best of 1, but an interesting deck nonetheless for Historic. Alright, and then the last one that I brewed up was the Historic U-White with Sten. So I think Haughty Djinn and Sten kind of make for this interesting control list in U-White that basically you're getting your spells for 2 cheaper in a lot of cases. So this may not be the perfect list, but I imagine you would want to pick Instants with these, and then you can play some of the bigger spells like Sublime Epiphany or Sphinx's Revelation, stuff like that. So you can, even though those spells are typically a little bit too expensive for Historic, with the 2 mana discount, it makes them a lot more reasonable to play. Rewind, you know, that's going to be 2 manas to counter. So all pretty solid looking. The rest is just the normal U-White shell with your Tef5 and your Wandering Emperor and stuff like that. So yeah, looks cool. I mean, if you like U-White, and at least it's going to be a different style of U-White. The last card I included, may not be that good, but seems good with Teferi 5, is Urza Assembles the Titans. Basically, it'll find you your Tef. You can play for free, and then you can hold up counter magic because you played Teferi for free. So, yeah, that seems pretty interesting. You can even read ahead it, so if they don't counter it, you can just get your Tef out. That's first turn if it's in your hand. Interesting, at least. We'll see. We'll see if it's good enough. But yeah, cool. All right, well that's it for the Historic decks. Hope you liked it. You know, let me know if any of these look interesting to you, or if there's any other Historic deck that you think is going to be good. Post it in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and until next time, see ya.